This is Nathan Fantasy Football League Updates. Merry Championship Week! Hello, happy holidays, and of course, happy Championship Week, Nathan Fantasy Football League Updates. We have reached the moment that all of you have waited so long for. We have been through 14 regular season weeks, almost all of the postseason, and it is for this week right here. Championship weekend, it starts right now. But before that, we got to get you all caught up on what happened last week in the semifinals, as we had some pretty good games overall. So we got ready for the holidays. As you can see, we've got our festive cap, our ugly sweater, 6-7, and a lot of fantasy football to get you caught up with and predicted. So let's not waste any time. Let's unwrap the championship weekend by finding out what happened last weekend, what results we got for you. So we'll start, as we always do, in that losers bracket. So remember, this round determined who was playing in the toilet bowl, who was escaping this year's punishment, which is a personalized calendar from the loser. They will have to make 12 different photos that will be given out in a calendar to each member of the fantasy league. So let's find out who's playing possibly for a calendar. We'll start in the two teams that lost in round one in the losers bracket. Lyndon the Crow took on the Zestmeisters, who had lost up to that point 5 games in a row. Mark it down as 6. Lyndon the Crow, the worst team in the regular season, will avoid this year's toilet bowl with a 147-126 victory. Pretty impressive stuff from Lyndon the Crow. They found a way to get it done, and it was all thanks to Chase Brown, George Kittle, and Kyle Pitts. That's right, 32 from Chase Brown, 24 from George Kittle, and 18 from Kyle Pitts is all you really needed. Now, the special teams helped, 11 from your punter, Logan Cook, and 10 from Chris Boswell. Other than that, not a ton to gloat about, because Javonte Williams and Quinn Ewers both nabbed 6, 9 from Rashid Shaheed, and 7 from Jaden Reed. Big miss off the bench. Well, there were a lot. Phillip Rivers with 17 on the bench. The stinger was Ashton Genty with 31, so we'll see if we see him start this week in just that 6th place game, which is between it's actually the 7th place game, 6-7. Anyways, it's the 7th place game. Winner will be 7th place. But on the other side, the Zestmeisters, 29 from Jalen Warren was awesome. Still not worth the Amon-Ra St. Brown trade, but that's pretty cool. 16 from Devontae Smith and 14 from T. Higgins. Other than that, everybody else was rough. Only 11 from Shadur, only 14 from Geno. Michael Carter got you 6. Nico Collins was disappointing with 9. No big misses off the bench because Wan'Dale Robinson and Devin Singletary both got you 5. Again, Zestmeisters just on a downward spike right now that I don't know if they're going to be able to figure out. They're going to head to the toilet bowl. Lyndon the Crow avoids another year of punishments. They've been good at finding a way out of that toilet bowl game. We move on to matchup number 2. It's the Rocky River Rough Riders that took on the Guantanamo Bay Flying Squirrels. Again, winner out of the toilet bowl. Loser heads to the toilet bowl. And this one, pretty exciting game, but nonetheless a winner for the Rocky River Rough Riders. 176-156, a 20-point victory for the Rough Riders. After being left out of the playoffs, they have just flexed their muscles in the losers ladder. 26 from Jared Goff, 29 from Bijan, 22 from Derrick Henry, 20 from Cortland Sutton, 19 from the Saints defense. What a crazy start there, and it pays off, and 18 from Juwan Jennings. Keenan Allen was disappointing with 9, and then Jackson Dart, 0.02 fantasy points was pretty rough. Nonetheless, though, big miss off the bench. Romeo Dobbs with 19 is probably the biggest there, but you find a way to get a 20-point victory over a very good Guantanamo Bay Flying Squirrels team that is now headed to the toilet bowl. Honestly, though, they would have beaten either Linden the Crow or the Zestmeisters. They got 28 from Joe Burrow, 19 from Dak. James Cook chipped in 26, and Jackson Smith and Jigbo with 23 late in crunch time. Big miss off the bench, 30 from Brock Purdy. Would have won you this game because, again, Dak got you 19, but would have been able to get this done if you started Brock Purdy and a couple more pieces. Flying Squirrels in jeopardy of going back-to-back years now with the toilet bowl loss. Remember, they were our ultimate loser last year. They're getting another matchup against the Zestmeisters as they'll see them in the toilet bowl. So we've got through the losers bracket. It's time for just a little bit more consolation. Our sixth place game, this one, no implications for that, but the winner of this next round between these two teams will be in sixth place. The Bangkok Ball and Boas, after another stinging defeat in the first round of the playoffs this year at the hands of the six-seeded Tucson Gila Monsters, they take on the Brooklyn Bunnies. And boy, are the Ball and Boas just, they have hit a dead-end cliff and have fallen straight off as they get stomped 116 to 80. Yeah, I'm saying they got stomped 116 to 80. The offense just disappeared. Lamar Jackson, really rough with 4 fantasy points. Travion Henderson with 2, 5 from Ibuka, 6 from Trey McBride. Only bright spot, top score of the week for you was 11 points from CJ Stroud and 11 from CeeDee Lamb. Sam Darnold was the big miss off the bench with 19, and Isaac Tesla was worth 15, but they wouldn't have even won in round 2 if they found a way to win in round 1. Rough stuff from the Ball and Boas. For the Bunnies, well, they just kind of took care of business, I guess. Not a great performance offensively, but you did enough. 30 from Justin Herbert, 16 from Jonathan Taylor, 21 from Saquon. Hey, look at that. Justin Jefferson back in double figures. It's only 14, but you'll take it. Rough stuff from Amon-Ra, only 9 from him. Big miss off the bench. Cam Ward with 18, Quentin Johnston with 20, and 17 from Ramondre Stevenson. Didn't matter, though. Bunnies find a win in the postseason. Doesn't matter. They'll face the Ball and Boas again next week. But congratulations, Bunnies. You've got a postseason victory against the Ball and Boas. All right, now that we have all of that out of the way, it's time to jump to our playoff bracket. And we start with the 2-seeded getting their first appearance this time around in the postseason. The Empire Strikes Back, taking on the Cinderella this year, the 6-seeded Tucson Gila Monsters. Gila Monsters coming off a astounding upset victory over the Ball and Boas, as previously mentioned. Empire trying to get to their first championship and grab that win, while the Ball and or rather the Gila Monsters are trying to get back to the championship game for the 4th year of 5. Pretty impressive stuff. Trying to go back to back. Do they have a chance? You bet your bottom dollar they do. A beautiful victory present handed to the Tucson Gila Monsters, 187 to 146. The offense showed up again in the postseason, as it always does for the Gila Monsters. They know how to win in the postseason. Top scoring team for the 2nd straight week in a row. Dominating fashion. Trevor Lawrence, incredible, 31 fantasy points. Chris Olave, another level for that guy, another game winner. 36 fantasy points for Chris Olave, 19 from Tedero McMillan, 16 from Kami Fairbairn, 19 from Jalen Hurts. Really, the disappointing part was my running backs. Tracy with 9, Josh Jacobs with 4. Big misses off the bench. Well, my entire bench went off. My entire bench scored 131 this week. 25 from Kenneth Walker, 14 from Mike Evans, 21 from DJ Moore, 11 from Aaron Jones, 17 from Bryce Young. Juwan Johnson had 16. Kenneth Gainwell had 23. The Gila Monsters are rolling in all facets. I could have started anybody and probably won this week. Pretty impressive stuff. For the Empire, it started out great. 46 fantasy points from Puka on Thursday night. I thought I was cooked. No, the rest of the team did not hold up their end of the bargain. Gardner Minshew got injured. He got 1. Breece Hall was disappointing with 8. 8 from Jacoby Myers. Travis Kelce 1. -6 from the Cowboys defense. Christian McCaffrey, 32 fantasy points. Yeah, so between Christian McCaffrey and Puka Nacua, they did all the heavy lifting, and Tyler Shuck added 17. That's about it. The Empire, It was the two-headed monster, but it wasn't enough in the postseason because nobody else helped them out in the long run. Really disappointing stuff from their role players. Have them lose in an upset victory for the Tucson Gila Monsters. Crazy that three of the top five scorers were in this matchup. Puka was number one, Olave was number two, CMC was number three. The three top scorers of the week were in this matchup. Pretty impressive stuff, but at the end of the day, it's all about the guys you surround them with. And for the Gila Monsters, it was enough for a victory. They are moving on to the championship game for the fourth year out of 5 seasons. Who will they play? Well, let's find out. As the Michigan Avengers took on the one-seeded Cancun Chameleons, who coming off a rough week on the bye, but that's why you have a bye week to get those rough weeks out. Didn't seem that way, though. The Michigan Avengers upset the Cancun Chameleons 154 to 144. The Avengers are headed back to the championship for the third year in a row. And yes, that means we get the third year of a row of the Gila Monsters and the Avengers in the championship. Wow. This is going to be awesome. Year number 3 of that matchup. Looking forward to it. But what went wrong? For the regular season champ, the best team in the regular season in league history, the Cancun Chameleons, offense wasn't bad, but they would have lost to the Empire, the Avengers, and the Gila Monsters. It just wasn't as powerful as it usually was. And it starts with Josh Allen. 6 points for Josh Allen is not going to cut it in the postseason. He's a big reason for the loss this week. Honestly, the main reason. You lose by 10, you get a 16-point performance from Josh Allen, 17 if you will. You're into the championship round. I think this is the biggest blunder in league history from the Cancun Chameleons. 12-2 in the regular season, the best offense in league history. They are now the top scoring franchise of all time because of the last 2 years. And you blow probably your best chance in the postseason to win a championship. Credit to the Avengers. They are a team that wins in the postseason, and it showed. 30 from Matt Stafford, 15 from Bo Nix, 23 from Jahmyr Gibbs, 21 from Zay Flowers, 14 from Brock Bowers. Rico Dowdle and Bucky Irving were disappointing with 8 and 7, but big miss off the bench was 21 from Caleb Williams, 22 from Diggs, and 19 from Harold Fannin. But didn't matter. You find a 10-point victory because Josh Allen was horrible and didn't hold up his end of the bargain. If you look at the rest of the roster, they did their job. Drake made 23, 18 from Devon Achane, 16 from Hampton, 26 from George Pickens, 18 from A.J. Brown. Tight end position after Tucker Kraft went down has been rough, only 6 from Loveland. Drake London got back from injury and put up 5, so that didn't help either, making the big misses off the bench. Ladd McConkey, 14 points. R.J. Harvey would have been a winner, 22. Kirk Cousins would have been a winner, 17. Tough stuff for the Cancun Chameleons. They fall to the Michigan Avengers and have been bounced from the postseason. So there you go. A shocking revelation as the Cancun Chameleons, the favorite to win it all, goes down. Josh Allen, the VVP, who did great things for the Rocky River Rough Riders, continues to lose in the postseason, loses it this year for the Chameleons. The Avengers will have a rubber match game. Round 3, Avengers, Gila Monsters. Let's find out my predictions for the Holiday Championship Series. All right, Nathan Fantasy Football League updates. Time to crown my 2025 champion. We've been waiting all season for it. It's been a pretty strong, competitive year in the Fantasy Football League. But let's jump right into my final prediction video of the year. Can I get the championship right? Let's find out. But before we get there, we got to open up some presents. The other consolation games. Let's see how I can do. We'll fly through a couple of these because, again, some of these games just don't matter. So I brought on some special guest pickers as well to kind of help us out in the festive season to see who they thought would win the final week of fantasy football. So we'll start in the losers bracket, game that really doesn't have a ton of implications. It's Lyndon the Crow taking on the Rocky River Rough Riders. Congratulations to both these teams. You will not be playing for a build your own calendar. So congratulations. But what do I think will happen? Let's dive right in. We'll start with Lyndon the Crow, who, again, only the 10th all time meeting, but the second postseason appearance against one another. Last time these two teams met, 2023, it was a win for Lyndon the Crow, 129 to 117. Can they do that again and end in 7th place? We'll find out. Well, for Lyndon the Crow, really impressive stuff. I think a lot of people thought they would end the year in the toilet bowl. They did not. They found a way to get a win. So looking at some of their key players, Kyle Pitts, we thought we saw him in the starting lineup. Now Ashton Genty, because of his breakout, we'll see all three running backs instead of a double tight end situation. He does find his way in. I think he'll be a key player, but at the end of the day, he's not in the lineup. But Kyle Pitts would have liked to highlight him. George Kittle, I think he's going to have a great performance against Chicago, maybe 2 trips to the end zone. And Chase Brown. I think Chase Brown could be on track again. He's been awesome since Joe Burrow got down, a check down merchant. I think he has a 20-plus point performance along with the rest of those running backs. Pretty good week for Lyndon the Crow, in my opinion. For the Rough Riders on the other side, well, I think Jackson Dart has a bounce-back performance against the Raiders. Bijan Robinson, again, 20-plus point performance in a big game against the Rams. And then Cortland Sutton, will highlight him against a Chiefs team that, again, just down on their luck, not a lot going their way. So we'll say, hey, Cortland Sutton, maybe you can have a Christmas miracle and go for a big game in the final game of the season for the Rough Riders. But let's see what my guest pickers think. Guys, who do you got in this one? We'll start with you, consolation ladder. All right. You've got Lyndon the Crow taking on the Rocky River Rough Riders. Who are you taking?
Probably Lyndon the Crow.
Who you got?
For that game?
Yes, Rocky River Rough Riders, Lyndon the Crow.
I think it's a close game. The Rough Riders lose by 5 points. The next morning, they win by 1 point. I'm taking the Rough Riders.
Rough Riders or Lyndon the Crow? Consolation for 7th place.
Probably the Rough Riders because Lyndon the Crow is going to start some randos at QB.
I don't hate the picks there. Definitely a little bit interesting comments there from the Ball and Boas. But in a 10-plus point spread, my predictions have me going with the Rocky River Rough Riders, who finished the year strong. I think they had a really good push at the end of the year. Offensively, they would have made it in the postseason. I think could have done some damage. But again, they miss out because of tiebreakers, and they will head into the offseason trying to get back to the postseason again. All right, matchup number 2. We go to our next consolation game. It's the Ball and Boas and the Bunnies for 6th place. But for this one, again, a rematch from last week. Bunnies dominated in it. So how do they respond? Can the Ball and Boas even respond with the injuries and just how bad everybody's played? Looking at it, obviously it's the second all-time postseason matchup now after the Bunnies win that one last week. But the Ball and Boas did win both regular season games. Again, they're really good in the regular season, not so good in the postseason. How do we feel about this one? Well, the Bunnies, you got to highlight these top players that they've got on their roster. This is, to me, one of the greatest what-if rosters of all time. They had St. Brown, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, Justin Jefferson. I like Herbert and Love. They were my projected preseason 1 seed. How did this team not end up winning a championship? Don't know. Didn't work out, didn't pan out. And at one time, they had Jackson Smith and Jigba on their roster as well. Yikes. Nonetheless, I think all 3 of those guys have a great performance. Justin Jefferson continues to go downhill with J.J. McCarthy at the helm. I mean, man, when are they going to start realizing they need to get that man the football? Nonetheless, Bunnies, I'm expecting big things from those 3 athletes. On the other side for the Ball and Boas, I do think Trey McBride gets you one final good game. He's been the spotlight player for you all season. Lamar has been really disappointing. Is this a week where he bounces back against Green Bay's defense, which is a little injured right now? I'm going to say yes. You get a 20-plus point performance from Lamar one final time. CeeDee Lamb, another guy I'd like to highlight. I think he plays pretty well. Big one to highlight, though, for me, Trey McBride, if he's healthy and if he plays, could be in that 20 to 30-point game. I really like Travion Henderson to have a monster game if healthy against those Jets. Let's see what the guys think. Consolation ladder. We're back. 6th place game. The Bunnies take on the Ball and Boas. Who you got?
The Bunnies are going to win it. Whatever Gavin's team name is, they've been sucking and they're on the downward trend. So Bunnies.
Manager of the Ball and Boas, you take on the Bunnies for a second straight week. Who you got?
I am going to continue my trend of only getting 6th or 7th place, and I'm going to get 6th place again because the playoffs are the worst, and I hate fantasy.
Nice, dude. Lyndon the Crow, who do you got?
Well, probably the Ball and Boas because the Bunnies suck.
All right. I don't hate it again. Looking at my predictions, 3-point spread. Give me the Bunnies. I think this is going to be a horrible collapse from the Ball and Boas. They're going to lose all 3 games in the postseason, and I don't think they're going to be too happy about it. They are going to fall to the Bunnies in my predictions. All right, next game, 3rd place game. That's right. We're saving the toilet bowl for the next one. 3rd place game. Cancun Chameleons, Empire Strikes Back. Both of them upset in their first game of the playoffs this year. Pretty disappointing stuff from the 1 and 2 seed. Again, they both put up 140. So I think this 3rd place game, another fun one that's going to be enjoyable to watch. This is their first ever playoff meeting. So again, fun stuff. Winner finishes 3rd place, which again, you'll take a podium finish if you're either of these franchises. But both of them were thinking more, especially the Chameleons. I still sit on the fact that this might be one of the biggest postseason blunders of all time. Cancun Chameleons had everything in front of them, and they gave it all away. But looking at this matchup, key players, Josh Allen, how can you bounce back, buddy? Can you get a 3rd place finish for this Chameleons team to go down at least respectfully in history of the league on the podium? George Pickens, can you keep up with some consistency against a bad Washington team? And then Drake London, can you have a bounce back performance against a really good defense as you start to get healthy here again? It only one more game, but can you be healthy and finish strong for the Chameleons? On the other side, we look at the Empire Strikes Back. Tyler Shuck, a familiar name. He's QB1 right now for you. He's going to have a great performance, I think, this week, especially against Tennessee. Puka and Christian McCaffrey, I mean, that's a guaranteed 50, 60 points. Last week, it was worth 80, but nonetheless, I think they have another 60, 70 point week between the pair. They perform pretty well. Guys, what do we think? We like what I'm saying? Do we not agree? Let me know. 3rd place game. JVB, who you got? You've got the Empire Strikes Back or the Cancun Chameleons?
The Chameleons get it done. They probably should have beat Jaden. They had a rough game, but I think they take care of business in the 3rd place game.
All right, Ball and Boas. Who you got in the 3rd place game? The Chameleons or the Empire Strikes Back?
Chameleons.
Chameleons or Empire?
Give me the Chameleons.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see what you guys think of this one. I've got an 8-point spread in the 3rd place game, and I'm going with the Cancun Chameleons. They'll finish their season on the podium, so it's not all lost, but still kind of disappointing overall from the Chameleons. Would have liked to see just a little bit more from them after really what was a very promising regular season. All right, toilet bowl time. Flying Squirrels, Zestmeisters, they meet for the 2nd time in postseason history. The Flying Squirrels lost last year. Who's doing the calendar? Who do I think's doing the calendar? That's a big question here. Look at it. Is it the double person calendar? Is it a double managed calendar? Or is it the Zestmeisters doing the solo calendar this year? Well, both of them have lost the league before. This would be a 2nd loss for both of these squads. For the Flying Squirrels, JSN, you're going to expect big 30-point numbers against a Carolina defense. But again, JC Horn's pretty good, so he might hold them more in the 20 range. But there's really no stopping JSN. James Cook has a tough matchup against Philly, but I still like him to find the end zone. And Dak Prescott, I think, really takes the next leap against Washington. The Zestmeisters, can Jalen Warren stay consistent? You need him to, because you traded away St. Brown and have lost 6 in a row. Nico Collins, I think, has a really good game against the Chargers. And T. Higgins has high potential to go off against Arizona. But a big game in the toilet bowl. Who do we think's making a calendar, guys? Oh, hey, Brady. All right, toilet bowl. Who you got, Flying Squirrels or Zestmeisters?
Probably the Flying Squirrels don't celebrate too early.
So you got them winning or losing?
The Flying Squirrels losing it all.
All right, who do you have winning in the toilet bowl, Gavin? The Zestmeisters or the Flying Squirrels?
I have the Zestmeisters winning. I think the calendars it's going to be dual player calendar with Josh and Maddie both posing on it. It's going to be great.
All right, Jacob, who do you have winning? The Flying Squirrels or the Zestmeisters in the toilet bowl?
I want to see the duo pictures. The Zestmeisters get it done and send the Flying Squirrels to the calendar. Let's go.
All right, so surprisingly, they're all rolling with the Flying Squirrels to be the ones to make the calendar, a double person calendar. Could be fun. But I've got a 10 plus point spread, and I've got the Flying Squirrels taking care of business. Zestmeisters will be the ones making the calendar this year, and I said it. Once Amon-Ra St. Brown was traded, this team has lost 7 straight games. That would be if they lose. That's absurd. And, once you trade your first round pick, the star of your team, it's hard to recover. And I'm not going to say I told you so, but I told you so. Zestmeisters fall in the toilet bowl. Well, the Guantanamo Bay Flying Squirrels, will they grab a win and avoid the calendar this year? All right. Enough talk about all of that. It's the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time for the 2025 championship. For the third straight year in a row, the Gila Monsters meet up with the Avengers in the championship. I know, everybody's bored of it, but it's the rubber match because the Avengers, they won in 2023, 163 to 148. Gila Monsters, they won 170 to 124 the year after. So who's going to take it this year? That's a good question. Will the Gila Monsters, the Cinderella, be able to be the first 2-time champion, and for that matter, go back-to-back 2 rings on my finger for the Tucson tie? I mean, what a story it would be for this team that made the playoffs at 6-8, the last year's reigning champions who started the year 0-5, won their next 5, and then lost 3 out of their final 4, found their way in, and has been the top scoring offense the last 2 weeks to win it all, and against the team they played the last 2 years. For the Avengers, it's the story they've always had. This is the team that every year is great. Every year they find a way to have success. They've made the championship now 3 straight years. How do you stop this team? They get hot in the right times. The Avengers, it just seems like everything rolls their way when they need it to roll their way. They draft the right players for the right scenarios. So where do I think this goes in the 16th rendition of this matchup? The Avengers lead that all-time series 10-5. Gila Monsters, though, have the playoff series. This is the 6th meeting between these two teams. 6th time these two teams will face off. Gila Monsters lead at 3-2. Every player is a key player, but when you look at it from both perspectives, we'll start with the Avengers. Matt Stafford feels like he's got to have a monster performance again. Get the ball to Puka Nacua, good things are going to happen, it feels like, and especially if Devontae Adams is healthy, against an Atlanta defense that feels like you can really dominate. Jahmyr Gibbs also feels like he's due against a Minnesota offense that's not going to hold their weight. The Lions offense, they need to win this one. They're going to rely on Gibbs. I expect him to be scary good this week. But the breaking news right now for the Avengers side is Brock Bowers, IR, not going to play, so it's Harold Fannin stepping in. Can Harold Fannin make the difference? He's been really good down the stretch. You feel really good against the Steelers defense that he's going to find a way to get in the end zone, be good, and be consistent. So there's not too much panic on the Avengers side, but man, no Brock Bowers is a game changer. It's a big name not to have, so you've got to be worried if you're the Avengers not having that star power, but don't worry. Bucky Irving plays the Dolphins, and you feel like the Dolphins defense, Bucky Irving, since coming back from injury, hasn't had his game yet. Well, feels like this could be his game against a bad Dolphins team that doesn't really have much to win for at this point and is starting Quinn Ewers. But along the board, Rico Dowdle feels like he needs to find a way to play well against Seattle. And then the wide receivers, can Jamison Williams or Zay Flowers really shine? And the other two regular season matchups with the Avengers won. Stephon Diggs was that guy. He's not playing here in the third game of the series this year. It's going to be Zay Flowers, who's been good over the last three, and then J-Mo, who's also been good after the last couple. If he can be good against Minnesota, that could mean problems. And then Bo Nix, can he pick apart a bad Kansas City defense? Not a bad defense, I guess. More of a defense that doesn't have anything to prove at this point because the Chiefs are out of the playoffs. They have been naughty this season, and they have not won enough games. Wow, feels weird to not say the Chiefs are a playoff team. Over to the Gila Monsters, trying to go back-to-back. Complete the Cinderella run. How do you do it to put the second ring on your finger to go back-to-back years? Man, this playoff run, being the top scorer in the postseason 2 weeks in a row has been incredible. Can they keep it up? This was a team that every time they score above 130, we've won. But that's because we haven't scored enough over 130. It's crazy, absolutely nuts that the first 5 weeks this team lost all of their games, and there was just no hope. I mean, if you would have listened to me back in episode 5, I was defeated. I thought we were done. This team continued to battle, and they figured it out down the stretch, and the postseason rolled around. We gave ourselves a chance, and we scored. You look at the breakdown of the regular season, I average about the 7th most in fantasy in the league history. Yeah, 7th. But I've got the second highest winning percentage, just second to the guy I'm playing in the championship. There's a reason these two teams are the blue bloods of the league. They're always here in the championship. They always make the postseason because they find ways to win and they draft the players they know will give them the best shot to win. And man, these players have shown through despite some early adversity. And then the playoffs, this Gila Monsters team being the Cinderella they are, it's not a surprise because we average about 15 to 20 more fantasy points in the postseason than any other team. If you want to call that luck, whatever it is, this team knows how to win in the postseason. So how do they do it? Well, you got to highlight the 3 big names on this team because these are the guys that are actually holding the team back. Chris Olave and Trevor Lawrence both have been incredible, have been keys in winning in the postseason for me. They both are up for postseason MVP or the Man Award, which those awards will be coming after our championship reveal video next week. But man, the superstars have to show up. Can Jalen Hurts find a way to get me 20 plus in a tough matchup on the road in Buffalo against Josh Allen in the cold, in the snow against the Bills? It's a tough matchup. If it's high scoring, favors Jalen Hurts, but can he win a big game and be good fantasy-wise in that big game? Jamar Chase feels like a gimme for possibly top scorer of the week against an Arizona defense that has not stopped wide receivers well. So can Jamar Chase show up in the postseason and get me a massive, finally 40-point week? Remember, last year, 3 40-plus weeks for the big brain bandicoots. Can he do that for the Gila Monsters in the championship game when it matters the most? That would excuse all the early season struggles for sure. And then Josh Jacobs. Is he going to be healthy against Baltimore? Not asking for a whole lot from him. Realistically, you're asking for Josh Jacobs to just find the end zone maybe once, toe the rock a little bit more than he did in Chicago, and just get a little healthier. Because if he can do that, he's got the potential too, if really healthy, to find the end zone twice, 3 times, plunging it in, especially if Jordan Love is out. So need Josh Jacobs to be healthy and good to go. The other keys for the Gila Monsters, you got to score points because you know the Avengers will, but the role players have done their jobs. Chris Olave continues to do his thing, and he plays Tennessee this week. Feels like a good week for Chris Olave to just continue to do his thing and solidify himself that award. Or even for Trevor Lawrence against Indianapolis, who's low on DB help. So can Trevor Lawrence have another big day? He did it against Broncos defense, who probably arguably the best defense in the league. Why can't he do it against Indianapolis? That's what I'm going to say about that. Tedrow McMillan, the Tet offensive, find a way to just maybe find the end zone, get a couple 8-9 catches, against a tough Seattle defense, I know, but if he can do his job, you just need role players to let the superstars shine or the role players to exceed their role. Guys, after all of that, though, no Brock Bowers for the Avengers. Are the consistencies or inconsistencies enough to ruin it for the Gila Monsters? What do we think, panel?
All right, final one, the championship. Who do you got, Gila Monsters or Avengers?
You know, it's not even going to be close. It's going to be a 50-point spread, 50-plus point spread in favor of the Avengers.
All right, Ball and Boas, first two-time champ. Who will it be, the Avengers or the Gila Monsters?
Well, I'm rooting for the fantasy meteorite to hit the fantasy stadium so both teams lose. I'm going with the Avengers.
All right, the last one, the big kahuna. The Avengers take on the Gila Monsters. Year number 3. Who do you got in the rubber match?
I think the Avengers, they're just too hot right now. Olave's not going to put up the performance he just did, so the Avengers are going to get their second chip.
All right. No belief in this Tucson tie. No belief in the Tucson tie. You've hated the Tucson tie all season, and here I am back in the championship. We'll see how that goes. Can I put another ring on this finger? One of these two teams will finally be a two-time champion, the first in league history. But can the Gila Monsters make a statement going back-to-back and finish an incredible storyline Cinderella run after sneaking into the playoffs? Let's see my predictions. In the 16th rendition and 6th playoff meeting between these two squads, I am going a 5-point spread. And I'm going to agree with the majority. I'm going Michigan Avengers. The winningest team in the Fantasy Football League's history will get their second championship and avenge their loss last season. Third year's the charm, and the Michigan Avengers, to no surprise, it feels like they got hot at the right time with Matt Stafford, Bo Nix, Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back trio, and the wide receivers have done enough that the Michigan Avengers, I think, are going to be this year's 2025 Fantasy League champions over that rivalry of the Gila Monsters. What an end it would be for the Gila Monsters, but man, you come up just short against the Michigan Avengers, in my opinion. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully when we talk again, I've got another ring on this figure, but we'll find out. That'll do it. Happy holidays to you all. My final predictions of the year, you've got them, and I think the 2025 champion will be the Michigan Avengers. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Who do you think is going to win the rubber match between the Gila Monsters and the Avengers in the championship? I'm excited to see what you all think. Are you Team Tucson tie or just rocking with the Michigan Avengers? Let us know in the comments below. Enjoy your holidays. Merry Christmas, and we will talk next week to reveal the champion of the 2025 season here in the Nathan Fantasy Football League. Good luck, enjoy your holidays, and hopefully you can wake up with a championship win. Merry Christmas, and we'll talk to you again next week for the reveal of our 2025 champion here on the Nathan Sports Talks channel.